Hello everyone, welcome back to the tavern. We are back today with another 3d6 Reddit build. I'm very excited. I've just skimmed this post and definitely feels up my alley. And I hope that I can give ShiftnClick a fantastic piece of advice for their adjustment to their wizard class, moving from from Waterdeep Dragonheist into Dungeon of the Mad Mage, a fantastic adventure in my opinion. So the situation that they've laid out for us, they're currently in Dragonheist, but will be progressing to Mad Mage eventually. Just hit level 3, so they're midway through Dragonheist right now. That adventure does cap out at 4 to 5. And having good fun. Group composition is Grave Cleric, okay, Battlesmith, Totem Barbarian, Swashbuckler, and Hexblade Rogue, Bow Guy, so range. Interesting. Or maybe that's another slash, and them, the wizard. Currently, Wizard School of Abjuration, pre-Tasha's, stats 9, 18, 15, 18, 15, 20. Great stat line. Amazing stat line. Tasha been very interested in Order of Scribes Wizard, Bladesinger subclass of the wizard. DM allows subclass changing at ASI levels. Questions for all of you. They didn't give us a race for this wizard. So we're not sure on that. Final questions. Which subclasses do you think complement my current party the most? What do you think would perform better in this module from now until level 20? No spoilers. Okay. I will try to avoid all relevant spoilers that would ruin parts of either adventure throughout this entire video. Some of the things I talk about will be more generic knowledge of things that would make sense going into any dungeon that might be effective in any dungeon. So because you are planning to build a class that is going to go to level 20 in a dungeon, this is one of those situations where I don't want to spoil any of Mad Mage for you. It is a fantastic adventure if you like dungeon crawls, but I am going to talk generically about things that are helpful in a dungeon crawl versus outside of one in like the greater adventuring world. Order of Scribe. So the questions are: choose Order of Scribes, manifest mind feature, be used properly to take too much away from my roguish teammates' roles. Notable. That said, any wizard can do that with Arcane Eye at a 7th level. Am I fooled if I don't go Bladesinger with these stats, since they are mad and no telling when I'll play a wizard with such good dex and int again? Also, valid point. Also, any advice on ASI feat progression? Love that. I will absolutely try to offer some different suggestions. I'll try to go with at least 1 or 2 routes that both of the subclasses could go. Abjuration, excellent school of magic for wizard. It is. Not going to lie, you are very good at counterspelling as that, but the other 2 are good as well. After reading Tasha's, can't seem to get what those other 2 subclasses out of my head. A strong argument for saying Abjuration. Interested. We'll explore it, but I think the other subclasses is going to be a lot of fun to play no matter what you end up deciding. ShiftnClick. So let's jump into it. Off of this, because I double checked as I read through, I do not see race. And keep in mind, anyone who's watching this, Bladesingers no longer have an elf requirement as a race. Anyone can pick them. So I'm going to go into this assuming that I'm making 2 assumptions. One is that you as a wizard racially have dark vision at the moment. The other assumption that I'm going to be making is that you are not a variant human and therefore do not have a feat. So I'm going to be using probably one of the elf sub-races just as a generic stand-in for what you are, but that might change based on your own whichever race. So I'm going to make a comment here real quick. Maybe you'll get back to me midway through. What race is your character? And our ability scores factoring in the those ability scores factoring in the racial bonuses already. So we're going to drop that in real quick, see if we get a response. I'll keep jumping back to this. So I pulled up Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This is the marketplace on Beyond. $30. I own it in paper, but we are just pulling it up for basically one thing here that says levels 5 to 20. So that's basically what we're building to at this point. The other thing that I'm not going to spoil for Mad Mage, but you are it's water deep. You have access to the city above in a roundabout way, depending where you are in the dungeon at that point. So you can, let's see. Okay, nope. So you can't, we are going to make the assumption that you will be able to make it back to Waterdeep at certain times, especially as a wizard. That means downtime to scribe spells, buy new spell books, things like that, sell old spell books, anything that you might find, purchase items, sell items, things like that. But it's access to downtime and the necessary things that you need to scribe new spells into your spell book, because you are a wizard. It's one of the features of Wizard, and it's understood that wizards will be finding spell books and spell scrolls and adding them to their collection as they adventure. All right, so that's the only assumption we're going to make. We're going to close up Mad Mage, never worry about it again, other than just generically talking about dungeons. So we're going to go standard right off the bat, jump over to abilities right away, and we're going with, what were we at, 9, 18, 15. Oop, manual. 9, 18, 15, 18, 15, and the last one was a 12. I thought it was a 12. Great ability scores. Let's jump to the race real quick and just throw in a stand-in. Let's throw on stand-in. Where's the elf? Yeah, we'll throw in an elf here. Standard, say, let's throw in a Shatterkai. I don't think they get 1 perception, they get a con bonus, and a random teleport. But they have dark vision, trance, normal elf things. And that's +2 dex and +1 con. So we're going to put the dex to 16 and the con to 14. So that way, after the ability scores, we're adjusted to the array that has been given to us. All right, and then we're going to jump over the class and pick up Wizard. Now, the first thing that we're going to want to make sure that we keep in mind is this adventure is going to, after Dragonheist, obviously, Mad Mage is going to push you to level 20. You are going to level 20 to complete this dungeon. It's one of the awesome things about this adventure. It's written all the way up to those levels. The other thing is, because the whole adventure is a dungeon delve, some of that high-level magic things like teleport, things like demiplane, things like plane shift, aren't going to be as necessary because you're not world spanning at this point. You're not plane hopping in the same way that other epic level adventures will. So that's going to open up some choices for us down the road once we start getting into those 7th, 8th level spells. But for the time being, we're not going to have to worry about it. So right now we're going to jump up to 3. Proficiencies, we don't know. So in the dark, we'll go Arcana History. Description, we'll go with Researcher. I think it's Researcher is the name. Sage might be the name of it. Yeah, Researcher background, that's it. Skill proficiencies, we'll go with Investigation, and we'll say Religion. Religion, there we go. Languages, we'll pick up, say, Elvish. Oh, no, we have Elvish already because of the race on there. Let's pick up, say, Goblin. I don't know. And Draconic. Let's do something weird. Let's do Gith. Yeah, way out there. Astral Sea type of stuff. We'll drop Goblin. Goblin seems boring at that point. We'll go with Gnomish. Oh, no, we'll go with Deep Speech. Super, weird out there languages. Deep Speech is the Far Realm, Mind Flayers and stuff, and Gith is the Astral Sea. So very, in your head type of wizardy type of stuff. So very much fits a thing. Researcher, recall a piece of lore. This is going to play into the fact that we have access to Waterdeep. Mind you, I have no idea what ShiftnClick's actual background and race is, so I'm just spitballing at the moment. It's how I would, in the dark, build an elf wizard, even though I can't stand playing elf wizards. It's overdone for me, in my opinion. There's so many other fun things. Play a dwarf wizard every now and then. They're fun. All right, Arcane Tradition. So let's jump over to the wizard for a moment. Here we are, wizard class. So we have all of the normal wizard features, Arcane Tradition. So first of all, we have Bladesinger. This is going to give us light armor proficiency. So we're going to be wearing studded leather at that point, which is going to be 12 plus our dex modifier, which right now is a 4 with 18 dex. It's going to give us a free performance proficiency, which it's not bad. It might come in maybe 3 or 4 times, I would think. Like big moments and maybe a few more small moments over an entire adventure or entire epic campaign. Probably 3 to 4 big key moments, I think, performance could come in if you work on it. Blade Song is going to be our big thing. AC bonus of intelligence, going to be huge. Increased walking speed, advantage on acrobatics checks, and proficiency or bonus on constitution saves to maintain concentration equal to intelligence. So it's going to help us keep that concentration spells up. And we get proficiency bonus times per long rest. Now, we are adventuring in a dungeon. It's not like we're taking downtime days and we're having one fight here and then camping on the road and seeing stuff. Days are long in dungeons in general because it's not like, oh, we're going to explore this one corridor and then rest. Oh, we had a fight in this one room. Let's just camp here for the day. And it's 3 hours in a day. Whereas when you're traveling on the road, I'll give an example of Tomb of Annihilation. I'm not going to give any spoilers. But when you're traveling through the jungle, you might have 1 or 2 encounters over that day, and that's it. So Blade Song's great in a situation like that where you don't have as many encounters in a day. But in something where you are going to have, in theory, several encounters a day, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. Could be smaller encounters, but over the course of a day, you're not going to have Blade Song in every fight until your proficiency bonus starts to get to about the 4 range, which would be, if we jump at the wizard table, about level 9 is when you'll basically have Blade Song every fight if you so choose to have it. And that's also when we're getting our really powerful 5th level concentration spells like Animate Objects and Cloud Kill. So it is going to matter when the big spells start coming online, our big concentration effects, things that we can get away with casting 1 spell in the entire combat other than maybe shield or mage armor, or maybe absorb elements depending on our enemies, and keep 1 concentration spell up and be good and basically do cantrips the rest of the fight because that 1 concentration spell can do so much for us. That's about when 5th level spells come online, and that's when we would be able to safely use Blade Song every fight in theory as well. So early on, you're going to be wanting to try to conserve the resource unless you have a very important concentration spell going, or unless you are finding yourself caught in melee. Maybe you're surprised, maybe you're way ahead of the party, or maybe you were in the rear and the rear of your party got ambushed in the dungeon. You got to get that up so that way you can get out of dodge without taking too many hits. So that's going to be a resource that's better later in the adventure. All right, let's jump back to Blade Singing. So that's the Blade Song. Extra attack, we can replace one of the attacks with a cantrip, which is awesome. So that's going to give us an attack and a Booming Blade attack. Green Flame Blade is a useful attack for crowds. Most dungeons, there's always that type of mob. Maybe it's goblins, kobolds. There's always some type of mob in dungeons. So both of the Skag cantrips, the Green Flame Blade and the Booming Blade, are going to be useful to have, especially when we can replace one of our attacks with them. Additionally, you can take the attack action with this and not spend one of those cantrips. You can cast a Firebolt. You take the attack action and make your first attack as a regular attack. If you kill that enemy because they were looking bad and looking like they were pretty rough on death's door or something, now we don't have to use our sword to attack something that's next to us. We can shoot a firebolt to the other side of the map or something. So there is that benefit, or maybe we want to mage hand the keys off of their body or something, or our fighter or barbarian just knocked one guy prone and we're going to try to draw the weapon away from him that he dropped to the ground or something. There's uses to the extra attack, but I think it's mostly just your generic use is going to be combining a Booming Blade or a Green Flame Blade with a melee weapon attack. So there is some benefit, but not as much as you would think. Song of Defense, Bladesinger is active, take damage. You can use your reaction to burn a spell slot, reduce the damage by 5 times the spell slot level. So this is basically another way to use Absorb Elements or Shield. And this is any damage. So if you don't have like Absorb Elements up and you get caught by a Fireball Trap or something, you can't absorb some of that damage. 5 times isn't bad. Like burning a 3rd level spell slot to save yourself 15 hit points, it's okay, but we're not getting as much bang for a buck as just having Absorb Elements prepared, which is going to give us resistance to a host of damage types. And that only costs us a 1st level spell slot and our reaction, and it's going to combo better with the extra attack feature that we're getting and the Booming Blades and the Green Flame Blades if we're in combat. So it's useful in the situations where you really need to just absorb some damage, but it's not going to absorb as much damage unless you're dumping high-level spell slots into it, because at 10th level, your cap is 5th level slots. So the most damage you can absorb, in theory, from a single attack is 25. You can absorb more than that with an Absorb Element spell if they got a halfway decent damage roll. If you got hit by like a 7th level Cone of Cold or maybe a Prismatic Spray, they could be dealing 50 damage to you, and Absorb Elements is just going to take half of that away and give you some bonus damage for a 1st level spell slot. So Song of Defense, it's a nice backup, but it's not as necessary and powerful as it seems. Song of Victory, intelligence modifier to the damage of your melee weapon attacks while Bladesong is active. This is awesome, especially combined with the adjusted extra attack. This is 14th level, so you'll only get to play with this for 7 levels, 14 through 20. But the intelligence modifier bonus on damage, especially with our extra attack and the Booming Blade / Green Flame Blade, are melee weapon attacks. It requires you make a melee weapon attack. So bonus intelligence damage on those cantrips and your regular attack. Really good burst damage, but you are still a wizard. You are a wizard first and a melee combatant second. So that's going to be the Bladesinger. Let's take a look at the Order of Scribes real quick, and this is my personal opinion, is that the Order of Scribes is going to be the most wizardy wizard you could possibly play. And I think it's going to scratch the itch that people, especially myself, I can't wait to play an Order of Scribes in my next game. The itch that people want to play wizards is going to be scratched so well by the Order of Scribes that there's not really anything else that I think you would want to play. And I'll go through this step by step. Wizardly Quill doesn't require ink. Sage Advice has already clarified. You do have to spend the gold cost component to scribe spells. The quill doesn't require ink to write, but you do still need special inks to scribe spells into your spellbook, and they cost gold. So the time spent copying spells is 2 minutes per spell level instead of 2 hours per spell level. That is a massive decrease in time. That is an amazing feature for a wizard that is going in and out of a dungeon, any dungeon, next to a large city. That is fantastic because the party can go up to Waterdeep, sell off some goods, and you can say, you guys go, just pick me up some inks, here's 200 gold, or grab 200 out of the party fund, pick me up some inks. I'm going to be working on some spells, and you can spend 2 hours and copy an entire spellbook that maybe you found or that your DM put there for you in that time, as long as you have the gold to be able to pay for copying all of that stuff in. This is going to save you so much arguing amongst the party of you trying to get the party to stay in Waterdeep for 2 days or 3 days while you learn new spells. You can be doing other stuff during that downtime. If you have proficiency in herbalism kit from your background, you could be brewing health potions. You could be researching things with the researcher ability if you're a sage, like I picked. There are lots of things to do in Waterdeep because it's such a bustling metropolis in the Sword Coast, and those things can help or hinder if you don't do them. In Mad Mage, depending on your DM, of course. You can be researching things that you might have found out. You can be trying to find out if the group that you encountered would have any natural enemies or natural allies. Who should we impersonate? Things like that. And that's going to be helpful for you. And you don't want to burn all of your time when you're in town copying down spells at 2 hours of spell level, which is a hefty cost of time. 2 minutes per spell level, though, that's 30 levels of spells in an hour's worth of work. That's Amazingly powerful. Now, mind you, that's 3x5, 1,500 gold pieces. To copy that much, I think that math's right. Don't quote me on that. That was on the fly. To copy that much, but if you have the gold to burn, Waterdeep's the place that's going to have the supplies for you. So you're going to have much better use of downtime. You can erase anything you write with a quill, wave the feather. This is pretty cool. You can write on any surface. On the writing surface, erase anything. I would imagine you could write on any surface. I think as a DM, I would rule it that way. But you could make notes in books or notes on walls in the dungeon as you're going through in various colors that you guys know what to look for and things like that. The flavor. Awakened Spellbook. It's your spellcasting focus. You get to swap damage types. That will be helpful in any dungeon, especially with traps, especially with potentially different types of races or mobs down there that'll have different resistances. You make sure you pick up Chromatic Orb as first level spell. You make sure you pick up 5th level. You want to make sure you have force damage, which would be, or radiant damage. You pick up Wall of Light. So now you can replace Cone of Cold or Cloud Kill with radiant damage from Wall of Light. Cloud Kill dealing radiant damage is amazing. So you get to swap out these damage types, which is going to give you so much flexibility in the dungeon. Wizard spells are ritual. You get 1 free, basically ritual per day. So you really need that to detect magic, or this guy, oh, my ally's poisoned by something, I don't know what it is. I don't have time to cast a ritual. Let me pop off that identify right now, even though I don't have it prepared. It's going to save you time in a dungeon where time is of the essence. Any dungeon, time matters on a much more focused scale than it does on when you're doing like hex crawls and traveling between cities and things like that. Manifest Mind, this is basically, it seems like a replacement for the Find Familiar spell. Bonus action, so not even like a long ritual or anything, and doesn't cost any gold. Tiny spectral object hovering in a space. I always picture this like a floating, spiky, like Rubik's Cube puzzle, maybe, or maybe it's like a little astrolabe that's whirring around, or there's lots of goofy ways that you can do this. If you're a big Destiny fan, you could do like one of the little like crystalline structures that's shifting around, emitting a little bit of light. Cascade of text, if you're more of a Matrix fan. There's so many ways that you could flavor this. But as Dark Vision 60 feet, no action to share with you what it sees and hears, so you don't have to focus through it. So it's a better familiar. And mind you could have a familiar as well. Keep that in mind. Wizard spell on your turn, you can cast it from the mind space instead of your own using its senses. You get proficiency bonus times per long rest. Awesome. So it lets you peek around corners a little bit, or be able to get a drop on someone that's trying to hide from you. Bonus action, 30 feet to an unoccupied space. So it does cost your bonus actions to move it around and get it into position. I would imagine other than that, it just sort of stays near you. It doesn't have hit points, so it can't be destroyed by taking damage or being in the way of a big fire trap or falling into acid or any number of things that could happen in a dungeon to a familiar. Your manifested mind isn't affected by them. Additionally, you can only conjure it once per day. I believe bonus action, yeah. Once you conjure mind, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of any level to conjure it again. But once you conjure it one day, if it's not destroyed that day, you have it for the next day, and then you still have that use. So basically, you can always have one use banked by having it made on a day when it wasn't destroyed, which is pretty sweet. It can be dispelled, so okay, fine. Master Scrivener, this is awesome. This is extra utility. Long rest, create a magical scroll touching a wizardly's quill to a blank piece of parchment or paper. Plenty of supplies in Waterdeep. Spellbook must be within 5 feet of you when you make the scroll. First or second level, cast in time one action. Not one bonus action, notably, or reaction. So it counts as one level higher. Biggest beneficial spell, I think, in the dark that's going to benefit from something like this, utility-wise, is probably invisibility. Although things that come to mind could be something like mirror image or blur. No real benefit from higher cast, though. First level, any number of rituals if you find that you need that. Knock is probably a very powerful spell to keep as this, but I think as someone who would be traveling through a dungeon on average, Knock is going to be a spell you're always going to have prepared anyway. Because it's just so useful. Knock, Stone Shape are amazingly powerful spells in dungeons, just in general. Be able to open up a wall and walk through where enemies aren't expecting you. Awesome. They're not expecting you there. Free surprise. For the cost of a 4th or 5th level spell. Let's see. Scroll reduced. No one else can use it. That's fine. And you can craft scrolls. So now you have something to do with a long amount of downtime. So 10th level, I mean, it cut in half, but now you have the ability to spend that downtime that's saved by 2 minutes per spell level, making scrolls of other things if you have the golden downtime to burn. Talk to your DM about that. Finally, one with the word, you can just say no to one type of one damage and burn some spells out of your book. Totally fine. Well worth it every single time you use this ability, I think. 1d6 long rests, can't cast those spells. They come back. They're not lost forever like they were in the UA. This is that awesome thing where it's like you're fighting the BBEG and they drop Meteor Swarm on you and they're about to deal, and you fail the save, you're about to take 112 points of damage. You just get to say no. That's not happening. Maybe you failed your counterspell check, or maybe they had greater invisibility or something. It's just not going to do anything to you. That ability to just say no for the cost of even 18 levels of spells out of your book is always going to be worth it. I think every single time you use this ability, unless you're burning it every single day, you're not going to be too upset about it. This is also the one reason that you try to prioritize by spending your coin on adding more things to your book, copying scrolls, copying books that you find, buying other people's books, selling the books that you find after you copy spells out of them. All of that is worth something as soon as you hit this 14th level feature. The power of this feature is defined by how you play the character up until that point. So if you are playing a wizard that wants to quest for knowledge, the Order of Scribes is so much in the vein of what you want to do, I think, in my opinion. So let's go through. I think both of the subclasses bring amazing things to the table. I've played the Bladesinger already. I love playing my Bladesinger. I have a Mark of Healing Halfling Bladesinger, and he's a joy to play. I don't even use the healing that much, but there are different benefits and drawbacks to each one. Your party, from what it seems like, you have a Cleric, Battlesmith, that would be front line-ish, Totem Barbarian, easily front line, Swashbuckler, Rogue Hexblade, Boat. I think it's Swashbuckler, Rogue, and then Hexblade, or Rogue Hexblade, a bow guy, and then you. I think that's what this is. So you have Rogue Hexblade, that's going to be melee combat, Totem Barb, melee combat, Battlesmith, melee/range, Grave Cleric, mostly a caster, but can do all right in melee. If I remember correctly, they get martial weapons, but not heavy armor, which not as good. They're more of a caster style cleric. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they do get the wisdom modifier on cantrips, not the bonus to damage on a weapon like a trickster clerics do. And you're the wizard. I don't think your party is hurting for people that need to be able to be up in the melee. I think you are going to be better served by being the wizard that is in the back lines, the wizard that's going to be able to figure stuff out, that's going to have all of these rituals prepared, or rituals in your book that's going to help you solve situations when they come up. Not that the Bladesinger is not going to be good at that, but I think the Scribe Wizard is going to do that better. I don't think your party is hurting for protection as much. Abjuration Wizard, yes, there is the inherent protection built in there, but I think if you talk to the party, and this would be something to discuss with your party about as well, if the Battlesmith Artificer has Cure Wounds as one of their prepared spells as a standard fare, between this the Battlesmith sort of doing a little bit, and the Cleric making sure that they're able to pump out a little bit of healing, you should be all right across everything. The Totem Barb Like if they're Baritone Barbarian, they are golden. They are tanking for days. Swashbuckler, Hexblade, Rogue. Once they hit 5th level, they'll fifth level Rogue, I should say, because right now they're minimum 1st level Hexblade. Once they hit 5th level Rogue, they get Uncanny Dodge. They'll have decent survivability. Your biggest fear of the Manifest Mind stepping on the Rogue's rolls is not something that I would be as concerned about if I were you. The Rogue is able to find and disarm traps. The Manifest Mind is able to scout. And there's a major difference between those two roles. And the Mind isn't going to be able to deal with traps. It's not going to be able to get through a door. It's not going to be able to tell if the pressure plate beneath it is actually a pressure plate or if it's just a stone. Maybe you'll see something strange about it and you can point it out to the Rogue, and the Rogue can look at it and investigate to see if it's a trap. Maybe you give them like advantage on the investigation roll or something. And maybe that's something to talk to your DM about, that if your manifested mind is traveling along with the Rogue, keep in mind it does shed light. Would it give them an advantage on investigation checks or something by like sort of just floating near whatever looks a little bit weird? And maybe they'll get advantage or something. You can play up that manifest mind as a way to help the Rogue do Rogue things and be a scout. And also that alarm system, oh, the Rogue's in trouble. Hey guys, we should rush up there because the Rogue's being ambushed by a bunch of bugbears, we'll say. The Rogue's being ambushed by a bunch of bugbears because he rolled badly. None of us we're all way back here. We don't know he's being ambushed. So now if the Manifest Mind is there, at least you're alerted, hey, they need help right now. So let's go through the character builder real quick. I'm going to throw on the Arcane Tradition Order of Scribes for now. Wizardly Quill, get all of that. Let's jump up to 5th level right away. We're going to throw ability score improvement. Looking at these, and because of your amazing ability score arrangement already, I actually think your best go-to here is either Warcaster or Resilient Constitution. And I am actually going to go with Resilient Constitution here. The reason being is Resilient Con is going to increase our hit points as well as giving us proficiency in Constitution saving throws. Now, it's not going to matter a lot. Level 5, we get our proficiency bonus +3. But it's going to help us out down the road, and it's going to put a little less of a burden on our healers. Resilient Constitution. And that's going to kick our Constitution up to... let's refresh the page. Constitution is going to be up to 16. That's going to help our hit points by 1 per level, 20 points at 20th level. But it's going to help us with those saves down the road. And at a certain point, there's a great chart. Warcaster helps you succeed on saves up to the point of DC 18 or 19. Once it gets to that point, and especially beyond, if you get dealt 50 points of damage, even if you have Warcaster and a 14 Constitution, you can't succeed on that saving throw. Whereas with Resilient Constitution and a 14 Constitution, you could succeed on that saving throw. There's a chance, whereas Warcaster, there's literally no chance. If you're going to be not carrying a weapon, the other benefits of Warcaster aren't that massive. If you're going Bladesinger, I think you pick up Warcaster because you want to be able to have the Booming Blade as an opportunity attack. That is an amazingly powerful ability, especially when enemies move away from you. But, and Sage Advice has clarified, you can use Booming Blade with Warcaster. It does work. But if you're not playing the Bladesinger, I don't think you go Warcaster. I think you go Resilient for the extra hit points. It's going to matter to you so much more. Let's pull this up real quick. You're already going to have Intelligence and Wisdom proficiency in saving throws. Our Dex is pretty good already. We might pick up Resilient Dex as well. We are in a dungeon. There are traps that rely on Dex saving throws a lot in every dungeon. Every fire trap, every acid pitfall, there's so many things. And that's going to help us get our dexterity up. So there are benefits to these types of feats. To pick up those saving throw proficiencies is going to be huge. All right, let's jump back to Builder. And we'll close that page for now. All right. So moving on, let's delete this, shift and click. There we go. All right, moving on to the class. All right, so we're going to pick up some spells. Let's pick these real quick. Add spells, cantrips. So we're not melee, so our go-tos, if we don't have dark vision, we have to pick up dancing lights. We're assuming that you are playing a race with dark vision right now. So we're not going to pick up dancing lights. We're going to pick up, I think, frostbite. We could pick up light here as well if we didn't have dark vision, but we're assuming that we do. Shape water, potentially. And I'm going to come back to shape water in a sec. We're going to pick up shocking grasp. And we could pick up, if we don't want to pick up frostbite, we pick up firebolt. And we're going to pick up Toll the Dead. The reason we pick up Toll the Dead is it's a saving throw one. So when you are stuck in melee with somebody, Toll the Dead is a better thing to hit them with than Firebolt, so you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. It's just a save. It can deal 12 damage. Pretty solid. All right range, but you're in a dungeon. You don't need a 120-foot range in dungeons. 60 foot's more than enough. Shocking Grasp is our get out of combat. If we don't want to, we can drop that for Prestidigitation. Message is very powerful in dungeons because there is the rogue sneaking up ahead, so that's a great pick. Mending is also useful, fixing random things. Mage Hand is never to be underestimated. That might be better than Shape Water. The reason I usually pick up Shape Water if I'm playing a dungeon crawl is when you see a fluid with dark vision and you guys don't want to light a light, use Shape Water to pull a little bit of liquid over to you, and then you touch it. Oh, it's acid. It tingles on my finger. It's a little tiny drop of it. It's not going to kill you, hopefully. Hopefully it's not a pit of acid that kills you if a single drop gets on you. But it's a way to figure out what liquids are without having to dip a toe in them or get near them or anything like that. So it's a way to do that sort of at a range, 30 feet. So we'll throw Mage Hand on here for now. Mage Hand, we'll throw Message. If you don't want to go with Toll the Dead, Mind Sliver is a very powerful cantrip. It's an intelligence saving throw, very rare type. So Mind Sliver is a fantastic cantrip out of Tasha's. So your DM probably would even let you swap to that as well. So actually, we'll go with these. Mind Sliver, Message, Mage Hand, and Firebolt. We are the caster. The Cleric probably has light already, so we don't need to worry about that. Maybe the Battlesmith does, maybe. Rogue Hexblade, we don't need to fill roles with cantrips, or we're not going to be the damage cantrip dealer. So these are fine. First, we're not going to get really deep into spell level, specific spell selections, but I'm going to cover some highlight ones that I think are worth looking into. Absorb Elements and Shield, amazingly powerful. Alarm is very good in any type of dungeon because if you cast it, even as a ritual, the 1 mile radius is basically a full dungeon. You will know when an alarm gets triggered, but especially if you set a specific type of creature to trigger it. I want to know when a goblin breaks this barrier. And even if you're like a level down in the dungeon, you could probably still, oh, a goblin just passed that barrier. Good to know. Okay, cool. A great way to know if you're also being followed. As you're running out, you quicken one of those rituals using this Order of Scribes ability. Set an alarm. Anyone running through this area will trigger this, and now you know if someone's following you or something. If it doesn't go off in an hour, you know you're pretty good. Other things that are always worthwhile, especially with Order of Scribes, Chromatic Orb, because it has all of these damage types that you can change any first level spell to. Magic Missile, because it lets you change any other first level spell into a force damage spell. Comprehend Languages is something to pick up for any dungeon crawl because of its utility to detect magic and identify obvious pickups down the road, or purchasing of scrolls. You do get 6 at first level, 2 more at second level, so you should have 8 of these minimum by the time you hit 3rd level, 8 first levels. So you have lots of options in here. Expeditious Retreat is powerful. False Life is going to save your bacon so much. It's worth picking up. Probably not right away, but it's worth picking up probably by the time you reach level 5 before you start going into the dungeon, because its duration's not bad. It's an hour, but it's 1d4 plus 4 temp hit points. That's basically an extra hit dice for you. So it's worth picking up, especially if you cast it as second level. Burn a second level spell when you know a fight's about to start. And you're going to have minimum extra 9 hit points anywhere between 10 and 13 extra hit points for a second level spell. That's better on average than a Cure Wounds. An average Cure Wounds on second level is about the same amount. You're just doing it preemptively. It's not costing you action economy in a fight. So False Life's worth picking up probably by 5th level. Featherfall, not as useful in a dungeon. Floating Disc, worth picking up if you find it on a scroll or for gold. Grease, utility, useful in certain situations. Mage Armor, your dex is pretty good, so Mage Armor might be a very solid pickup for you if you don't want to pay the shield tax all the time. And if you're not paying the shield tax, it means the False Lives can be better for you because you'll get more uses out of it in a day. So Mage Armor is going to be a great pickup. Sleep, good at early levels, but it's going to get weak quickly. Tasha's Caustic Brew, awesome just because of the new thing. Unseen Servant, better version of Mage Hand, basically. It's a ritual. Pick it up as a spell scroll somewhere. Buy it in Waterdeep. I wouldn't waste one of your free picks on it, though, because it's probably something that'd be easy to find. Spells. We'll go up to... We'll set this to level 9. That's going to give us 5th level spells. Didn't change the thing. Level 9. There we go. Spells, add spells. There we go, 5th level spells. Because that's what I did mention before. Second levels, most important pickup here, I think, is Knock. Magic Aura, not as useful, but Knock is amazingly powerful. Being able to open doors, very strong. Blur or Mirror Image are going to be your defensive pickups. Mirror Image is non-concentration, so that's a massive boon for you. Dark Vision is a spell you pick up here if you do not already have Dark Vision. No concentration, lasts for 8 hours, does start to tax you at a second level spell slot for an adventuring day, but could be helpful in certain situations. I think this is one of the spells you pick up and you prepare if you don't have Dark Vision, but it's not something that it's the pick up and prepare if you don't have Dark Vision, but if you do, this is not something you spend a pick on just to help out a teammate. Dragon's Breath, alright. Flaming Sphere is decent. Hold Person, very powerful. Invisibility is an auto pickup, especially in a dungeon where you might need to sneak around. You can upcast it on the rogue and yourself. There's so much utility out of invisibility, very strong. Locate Object, much more powerful than it seems. Misty Step, very strong pick. Rope Trick is a way to get short rests off, depending on your DM, but that'll help out. Make sure you always have a rope about 10 feet in length. So buy one rope, cut it into 10-foot lengths, and then cut the rope to the correct length before using Rope Trick. Definitely not an in-combat thing. It does take... you do have to climb up it. So it's a nice way to get short rests in if you need to, in a little bit more safe environment in a dungeon than just sitting out in a corridor. See Invisibility is very strong. I would highly recommend you pick this up in your spellbook and keep it prepared. Shadowblade's not worth the pickup, in my opinion. Shatter's strong, but you don't really seem like your party is hurting for damage, so I wouldn't waste a pick on it. Spider Climb is very good, but at later levels. It's worth picking up probably by level 7. Or by the time you get 4th level spells, I would try to make sure you've bought a scroll of Spider Climb or copied it from maybe a Mage's College or something, whatever your DM's placed in Waterdeep. Skyright's an easy skip. Web, very strong if you find a wand of it, but probably not worth a spell slot. That's really personal choice. Raven Feeblement and Phantasmal Force are obviously monster specific. Phantasmal Force is very creative, so if you're a creative player, it's a great pickup. Second level is really not a damage spot for you, so it's not. I wouldn't waste picks on damage. This is a lot of utility that comes out of second level. Third level, obvious pickups are immediately going to be Dispel Magic. Haste is going to be very strong. Fly, not as good in a dungeon environment as it would be in adventuring along the world. Haste is going to be very strong with the Barbarian and the Rogue. Giving the Rogue an additional attack per round is going to be massive. Or maybe the Battlesmith. I haven't seen Haste on the Battlesmith yet. I believe it's on their spell list, though, although they don't have third level spells at 5th. They believe I get them at 9th. Same time Paladins do. Maybe 8th. Lightning Bolts, I think, on par with Fireball in dungeons just because of the layout of maps in general. Sometimes you'll hit more creatures with a Lightning Bolt than you would with Fireball. It's really a personal preference choice at this level, I think. Picking up Lightning Bolt does also give you lightning damage that you can change spells to at 3rd level. There are other things that you can pick up at 3rd level that you don't have to have prepared if you just want to adjust a damage type. Things like Spirit Shroud, which is necrotic damage or radiant damage. You can pick up Spirit Shroud just as a pick. Never even worry about preparing it. This is definitely a pickup if you're a Bladesinger, but never even worry about preparing it. And then just use it as a radiant damage fireball, which is going to do so much better than regular fire damage fireball against certain enemies. Slow and Hypnotic Pattern are amazingly powerful pickups, and honestly, they should be considered over Fireball and Lightning Bolt. You are playing a campaign to level 20. Slow and Hypnotic Pattern cast at 3rd level will still be very, very good in tier 4 gameplay because of the staggering effect that they have if an enemy fails their save against them. Whereas Fireball, the damage from Fireball peters off very quickly. Whereas incapacitating an enemy is much, much more powerful. The summon spells, personal choices. Thunderstep, decent, but you're probably going to hit allies with it. I would stick to Misty Step or Dimension Door. I think Misty Step's more than enough, especially for a dungeon delving thing. Tongues, if you find yourself encountering lots of different races, this is decent as a way to communicate with them. Because Comprehend doesn't let you speak, it only lets you understand. So those are your options there. I wouldn't pick up Vampiric Touch because that's specifically necrotic damage. If you want to have that utility to adjust things, I would pick up Spirit Shroud no matter what, because it gives you 3 different damage choices that you can use your Order of Scribes feature to change spells to. That's going to be your main utility spell to adjust damages. But once again, 3rd level, you're picking up really things that are going to counteract things. Counterspell is an amazing pickup and worth getting, probably by 6th level, if you did not pick it as 5th level. So definitely lots of good choices here. Definitely worth getting a hold of like a Mage's College or access to somebody in Waterdeep who you can purchase things from. Let's see if you responded here for the race. Nope, no racial. Nope, switch to night mode. No racial responses yet. No big deal. Do not pick up Blink. Blink is a trap. Don't do it. It's not worth the selection. Pick up Blur. Blur is better. Or Mirror Image. Mirror Image is better. And a lower level spell slot. 4th level, Arcane Eye. This is the replacement for your, so to speak, Manifest Mind. You can do the same thing with Arcane Eye. It's just a little bit better. Well worth the pickup for a dungeon. And the way that I would usually, if you're playing in person, the DM might show you a map real quick or let you snap a photo of the map itself in the book, but you don't know what else is on the map. So maybe that's a way to use Arcane Eye in a fair way that doesn't have to do with the DM explaining room by room everything in there, but now you sort of know the layout of at least the level of the dungeon that you're on. Arcane Eye is going to be its information, and your job as the wizard is information and utility, and Arcane Eye is going to provide that for you. Might feel a little bit cheesy using it and stepping on rogue's toes, but you still need that rogue to find traps. You are going to still be bad at disarming traps. They will still get you if you do not have that rogue. Arcane Eye is going to give the ability for that rogue to do their job because they know where monsters are going to be. They know where doors are closed, where ones are open, where things exist, things like that. It's well worth the pickup, well worth the preparation slot. Now, mind you, I'm saying lots of things are worth the preparation slot. It is up to you to decide which ones you do ultimately decide on. 4th level things that are also worth getting. Control Water is not as great in a dungeon campaign. It's better if you're in a sailing or open world campaign. Greater Invisibility is very strong for what it does. Good pickup early levels. It does cost concentration though, so you're not getting another good concentration spell. I think if you're a Bladesinger, you definitely pick up Greater Invisibility because of the free advantage on all of your attacks because you're invisible. But if you're not a Bladesinger, it's not going to do as much for you. Unless you're casting it, I believe it is, Touch. So you could cast it on the rogue and give them advantage on all of their attacks with sneak attack, but they're a swashbuckler. So they're probably getting sneak attack on most of their attacks anyway. It's also very strong in the barbarian, but they can reckless attack. So there's not a lot of things that you're going to pull out of Greater Invisibility that you can't sort of get in a roundabout way with other spells or other useful features already. A Resilient Sphere is very strong, especially in closed areas. Secret Chest is worth picking up as a little extra planar space if you don't already have a Bag of Holding or Portable Hole to hide things and recall them later. Let's see. Stone Skin, resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, slashing, piercing. Very strong, awesome pickup if you are Bladesinger. Not as good if you are not. But still useful for staying alive. Stone Shape, automatically pick this up. This is I open a door in the wall type of thing. That rock's made of wall is made of rock, or the door's made of stone. Awesome. The door vanishes. I put a hole in the door. Type of thing. The magically locked door is made of rocks. Okay, cool. What's next to it? More stone? Awesome. I'm going to take 3 foot step to the side and cast Stone Shape and make a hole in the wall that curves around the door. Okay. Yeah, okay, sure. Door's open. Like, it's just a free bypass, especially if knock spell's not working, or you don't want to burn a whole bunch of second levels on multiple locks or something like that. There's so much utility in Stone Shape, it's worth a pick. Vitriolic Sphere, Wall of Fire, also very good spells. This is a scaled up Big Daddy version of Fireball. Scales off the same way. 4th level, it's strong, but your real damage is going to come from 5th level spells. Wall of Fire is excellent crowd control, especially in larger rooms in dungeons, especially in mobs. You can separate the enemies in half, but you can also do all of those things from Wall of Fire that you can do with Slow and Hypnotic Pattern at a spell level lower. Polymorph is a very, very powerful pickup and worth selecting. Even if you don't prepare it every day, it's worth having in your repertoire to be able to go back and pick up or select to use if you need to. Banishment, strong in the right situations. Against a couple enemies, Banishment's great. Against mobs, Banishment's almost useless. 5th level, Bigby's Hand, Animate Objects. Fill similar roles, give you attacks with a thing to do every turn on your bonus actions. I honestly prefer Animate Objects because you throw 10 silver coins. Always use silver coins because then they are silvered. So maybe there's like some weird lycanthrope interaction or something like that. Throw 10 silver coins into the air and cast Animate Objects on all 10 of them. Now you have 10 tiny objects with 20 HP, 18 armor class, a +8 to hit, and each of them deals 1d4 plus 4 damage. What I recommend is having, if you're playing in person, have 10 20-sided dice. And say these 3 are all going at that +8 to hit on all of them. Throw 3d20s. These 7 are all going against that enemy. Throw all 7 at once. Don't make the attacks one at a time if you use Animate Objects. Your party will hate you. Roll all 10 attacks or as many attacks as possible at once. Say, all right, 3 of them hit. Awesome, cool. Or 2 of those hit. Here's 2d4 plus 8. It takes this much. 5 of those hit this guy. 5 of the 7. Here's 5d4 plus 20. Cool. All right, that's my bonus action. And then I'm going to use Firebolt for my regular action. Here's attack. Here's the damage. Done. There's your whole turn. Super easy. And you're getting to do this cool thing of little coins whizzing around. Coins are the easiest thing to use for Animate Objects. Don't really go with anything else, honestly, unless you need a larger size. Bigby's Hand, classic. Arcane Hand is just the rename. Cloudkill, worth picking up. Cone of Cold, very strong. Great area of effect, but not as strong in closed areas because the same trouble with Fireball. If you're in a closed area, you're not really getting the biggest effect out of the spell. Something that is very much worthwhile picking up is, in my opinion, Wall of Light and Wall of Force. Wall of Force is going to do so much for you because it can't be dispelled, only disintegrate. And it blocks ethereal travel, so you can deal with ghosts if you do encounter ghosts. Wall of Light's going to give you radiant damage per an action for every round, and it's going to let you change Cloudkill's damage to radiant, which is one of the other reasons I like picking up Wall of Light. It doesn't actually block, but it lets you make attacks with it. 120 feet, massive blinding ability. You can instantly blind a bunch of enemies by making this zigzag wall through some of them. 48 radiant damage, blinded for a minute, keep saving, half as much isn't blinded, but it gives you an action to do on each of your turns. So if you're not worried about having to spend bonus actions. Maybe you're quaffing potions as bonuses if your DM uses that rule. Wall of Light's a fantastic pickup. I think it's a good pickup just because of the radiant damage. Rary's Telepathic Bond is something that you should pick up as a ritual, and probably never prepare it and just ritual cast it when you know you're going into a tomb or something. Or you can quicken cast it with your Scribe ability. If you are going with the Bladesinger, I think Far Step's a very strong pickup. Bonus action free Misty Steps. Better than Misty Steps, 60 feet. So much better than Misty Step. Far Step's very strong to in and out of combats. Like run in, hit, Far Step out. And very good for hit and run tactics, especially because you're booming blading anyway. Dawn strong if you are dealing with vampires. I don't want to spoil anything, so you may not be dealing with vampires if you find that it is an issue in the campaign, or if your DM's using vampires in any way. Maybe things are happening in Waterdeep while you're in the dungeon. Dawn's a good pickup. Other than that, I wouldn't pick up Dawn unless you specifically need sunlight for something, which is niche uses, we'll say. Dominate Person is very strong, but very niche, and it's only lasts a minute, takes concentration, 5th level spell, save or suck. If they save against it, it's just your 5th level spell gone. Probably decent having, but I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket. Legend Lore strong, good pickup if you want to play more of the knowledge questing thing. Probably very helpful if you're searching for specific items, or if you have some backstory tie, or other people in your characters, or other characters in your campaign have backstory ties of items that they're looking for in the dungeon, or maybe you've gotten a job and that's what's leading you into the dungeon to find this item. You can legend lore about the item, because you don't have to have it on you. You just have to name or describe the item, and you learn a whole bunch about it. So that could be massively powerful information for you. Pass wall, decent. Planar binding, not worth it. Scrying could be useful if you've met the individuals. Teleportation Circle, I probably wouldn't pick up because you're not playing a world-spanning campaign. Synaptic Static, strong, but it's an intelligence save, and the people that you want it to be effective against are most likely intelligence casters anyway. Still decent. Disadvantage, penalty on all attacks and ability checks is actually really strong. And Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. So great against a mob of like goblins or something that is ambushed you. You just drop a Synaptic Static. Anything that survives that, or maybe bugbears, maybe Dro, maybe there's so many mobs that you could find in dungeons that Synaptic Static won't kill them, but a penalty of a D6 on all of their attacks is going to save your party so much. So it's probably worth picking up. It's also psychic damage. So if you don't pick up Wall of Light, you definitely pick up Synaptic Static. So that way you can change the damage type of Cloud Kill to psychic damage. The reason I keep bringing up Cloud Kill is because it's a fantastic spell, but it deals poison damage, and poison is the most commonly resisted damage type. So this ability of Order of Scribes to change Cloud Kill off of poison it's amazingly powerful. I'm going to jump up to 6th level spells, actually. Let's go to level 11. Close spells, open spells. Here we go. The reason I'm going up to 6th level spells is this right here, Contingency. You probably pick up Disintegrate. Pick up Contingency. My go-to on Contingency is if I become immobilized in any way, I cast Dispel Magic on myself at 5th level. So spells that would trap me and things like that, I can get out of immediately without spending an action or a 5th level spell, because I can set up the Contingency days ahead of time. And as long as you spend one of every 10 days setting up the Contingency, you're in pretty good shape. Disintegrate is always worth picking up. Instant summons, you're not playing world spanning. Chain Lightning, if you really wanted to be the damage person, I wouldn't worry about it. Once you hit 7th level, 7th level spells, which would be 13th level caster, I think I changed my contingency from I cast a spell magic on myself at 5th level to when I begin casting Force Cage, I cast Cloud Kill, and I changed that damage to Psychic. So now, or Radiant. I think I would pick Radiant because Radiant's less resistant than Psychic. Very few things that are evil in any way have resistance to radiant damage. That's why I pick radiant. Whereas things that are resistant to psychic can be very evil, like mind flayers and the far realm stuff like that. So now I start casting Force Cage with there's no save against them, and then I'm going to trap them in a box for an hour, and they have to save to try to teleport out of it, and they can't destroy it. And right as I begin to intone that, my contingency triggers, and I cast a Radiant Cloud Kill on that area, and then I trap them in it, and there's no escape. They are just taking damage every turn. And if there's only one enemy, they're not getting out of that unless they make a really tough save. And that's why I like the contingency spell. There's so much utility that you can do with this. It is well worth the pickup and every single gold piece you spend on this to make that carved ivory and decorated with gems statuette of yourself. So up to 6th level, yeah, Disintegrate's worth picking. Invulnerability, decent. Guards and wards don't touch. Investitures, you'd look at these if you're a Bladesinger. If you're not, don't worry about it. Mass Suggestion, probably worth pickup if you want to. This is the we need allies right now type of thing. You cast it, all of the enemies that save. All right, all of you people that are watching, come help us. And now a bunch of random people that are watching a fight help you out. So if you find mobs or different mobs, you make all the bugbears want to help you and fight with you, and you tell all of your allies, don't hurt the bugbears. Programmed Illusion, it's niche. Scatter, not as useful in a cramped environment. Sunbeam, niche uses, particularly matters if you need sunlight specifically, but probably not as worthwhile otherwise. Tensor's Transformation, you pick up if you're Bladesinger. If not, you don't even look at it. True Seeing, probably worth picking up because it is True Sight for 120 feet. You notice secret doors hidden by magic, and you can see into the ethereal plane 120 feet. That is amazingly powerful for going through a dungeon where there's probably lots of secret doors. In any dungeon, there's always secret doors, you know? So True Seeing is definitely worth the pickup at 6th level, no matter which subclass you go with. All right, I hope this has been a helpful guide to deciding which direction to go. Personally, I think that your party isn't, based on your descriptions, your party isn't really hurting. Yeah, I haven't given me information back yet. Your party isn't really hurting on the ability to go without the arcane ward on yourself, and you can pick up that resilient feat to help out a little bit. Other feats that I would recommend if you are an elf is picking up something like you could pick up Elven Accuracy if you wanted to, but you don't make too many attack rolls, increasing your dexterity. Picking up anything that's going to increase your dexterity is going to be strong because you can combine it with Resilient Dexterity filter. So let's see. Off the top of my head, I believe the high magic ones. Yeah. Nope. Not Gunner. Lightly armored, you can pick up if you want to have armor as a scribe wizard, and you're not a dwarf because dwarves get that automatically. Not moderately armored. Piercer, not relevant. Resilient dex, don't pick up Revenant. Second Chance, very good if you're a halfling. Increase your dex, and then later you pick up Resilient dex and you're fine. This is awesome. Force the creature to use a reroll. You can't roll initiative. Use again to roll initiative at the start of combat. So really cool. Lots of times you'll get to use that in a day, in theory. Second Chance is pretty cool. Squat Nimbleness as well. Skill Expert, very useful, especially if you're playing sort of this Skill Monkey Knowledge type of character. You increase your dex, you get a skill, you get an expertise, which is really cool. Dungeon Delver is, let's see, there's this feat. Dungeon Delver. Here we go. Alert to hidden traps. Advantage on perception, investigation, secret doors, which is a +5 on passives, by the way. Advantage on saving throws against traps. Resistance to damage by traps. Traveling at fast pace doesn't impose the normal -5 penalty on perception score. So passive perception score. So not only do you not get the -5 penalty, you actually get a +5 bonus to your passive because you have advantage to notice things like that. So this would be very, very strong. I think this is better for the rogue, but it's a good pickup for you if you feel the need to. I think any feat that's going to give you that +1 dex is going to be very strong. You don't really need Weapon Master. Tough is a strong pick because it's going to give you the ability to get a little bit more hit points. +2 hit points per level is pretty good for a wizard. That's an extra 40 hit points at 20th level. So that's a strong pickup if you don't go with the Resilient Dex path. Looking at the ability scores offhand at the moment, abilities, let's see, 18, 16, 18, 15, 12. With Mage Armor, your AC is going to be 17 with no magic items. You have decent AC. If you have Shield in there, you can bump up to a 23 per round for a first level spell. That's a really, really strong armor class. And you have a decent dexterity saving throw already, so I probably wouldn't waste trying to get the dex up to 20 by using Resilient on it. I think my pickups would be Resilient Constitution at 4th level to fix our odd Constitution score to even and get us proficiency in that, because that's going to help us maintain concentration down the road, and it's going to help us against poison traps, which are probably going to be common in any type of dungeon. So that's well worth picking up. If we're a dwarf, even better. Because we have advantage on those saves against poison, and we have resistance to it. Fantastic if we're a dwarf. We also have armor proficiencies if we're a mountain dwarf. And if we're not a mountain dwarf and we're a hill dwarf, we have extra hit points, which is also very good. So based on the dexterity, I'm guessing that you're probably an elf or elf type, I would think. Based on dexterity and intelligence, maybe a high elf, having 2 18s, you know? So and I wouldn't be surprised if your rolled stats were 9, 16, 16, 17, 15, 12, which would be a high elf, which is dex intelligence. And yeah, I think my favorite race for this would be a hill dwarf. Like if I had this stat line after racial adjustments as a hill dwarf, I think that would be my favorite pick for Mad Mage. But in dwarf, I get advantage against poison, which is going to be common in Entomb. I have extra hit points. I don't have armor proficiencies as a dwarf, but I do have some weapon proficiencies now that I'm really wielding any of them. I get a free stones cunning, so I would always pick mason's tools. Notice weird parts about masonry. Probably helps with finding secret doors, things like that. Things you can argue to your DM. Fun stuff. I like dwarves a lot anyway. So looking at these ability scores, though, I think you definitely pick up a Resilient Constitution 4th level. And then you never look back at the Constitution score unless you're picking up Tough. I think Constitution 16 is plenty of where you want to be. And I think it's going to, if you do pick up the Tough feat, Tough is going to be better for you than taking another +2 to Constitution. Even though it's going to increase your save, increasing the save by 1 isn't as good as getting twice as many hit points as you do by doing it. Tough is going to be better for you because it's going to give you, at that point, I would say probably at character level 16, it's going to give you 16 more hit points than +2 increasing Constitution from 16 to 18 would be. Tough is going to be better because it's going to be 16 more hit points for the cost of +1 on this Constitution saving throw. There's no skills tied to Constitution. It's just your hit points and your save. So that +1 bonus on the save doesn't make a huge difference there. That can be rectified with magic items that you might be able to buy or find. In the hit points, it is harder to rectify with a magic item. So Tough is better at that point. So yeah, I would pick Resilient Con. 8th level, I would max Intelligence to 820 because that is your ability to prepare spells per day. You need to get that Intelligence 20. Then the next thing you need to do is try to find a way to get that over 20. So that would be, if you're evil, the Book of Vile Darkness. If you are non-evil, non-good, it would be the Tome of the Intelligence Tome. If you are good, I believe the Book of Exalted Deeds lets you increase an ability as well, off the top of my head. So that would be that. I mean, mind you, those are all two artifacts and a legendary item I've just mentioned. But getting the Intelligence to 20 is going to help you have the utility of spell preparation, and that is well worth the ability score improvement. Having an extra spell prepared per day is amazing. And your DC is going to go up. Things I would look for if I were you would be things like the Luck Stone, anything that's going to increase your save DC. That is always worth it. If your DM gives you like a homebrewed like Rod of the Pact Keeper for a wizard that only increases your 2 hit and your spell save DC, buy it. Buy it for 5,000 gold. It's worth it. Even if it's by 1. Always buy it. And it costs attunement. It's worth it. 100%. So increase, because you want to increase that DC as high as possible. Finding ways to get extra spells per day, so Ring of Spell Storing or Rod of Absorption are your 2 go-to extra casting items. Rod of Absorption is obviously extremely powerful. It's probably better than the Ring of Spell Storing, even though it's limited use. 50 charges is pretty strong. Just be a little bit conservative with spending the charges to get free spells per day. But Ring of Spell Storing is very strong as well. And you don't have to worry about burning through it. It's a free 5th level or extra shields. It's 5 shields per day that you can just store in there if you really need to. Now you never have to worry about shield ever again. You just don't prepare it every other day. So there's some really useful things that you can do with the Ring of Spell Storing, and I would try to find one of them if I were you. So Ring of Spell Storing is probably your best pickup. Stone of Good Luck or Winged Boots are strong. Winged Boots isn't as strong in a dungeon as opposed to like an open world type of thing, but still decent. Any type of flying is still powerful, especially with non-concentration. Anything that's going to help you maintain concentration. Belt of Dwarven Kind is going to increase your constitution, especially if you're not a dwarf. That's going to give you all of the poison benefits as well. So that's going to be a great pickup. Feats at 12th level, I think I would pick up Tough. So I'd pick up Resilient Con for increase intelligence to 20 at 8. At 12th, I would pick up Tough. At 16th, let's see, 16th, I think 16th, I might pick up a Racial Feat if I'm, not as good. Tavern Brawler's your trap. I can't pick up Tough twice. Maybe Warcaster at that point if you're having trouble with that. Ritual Caster Cleric, your wisdom is high enough. You could pick up that. But that depends on how many Cleric spells you sort of found. If you don't want to buff your intelligence immediately right away, you could pick up between levels 8 and 12 the Shadow Touched and Fey Touched feats, both increasing your intelligence, which is going to give you more free spells per day. You get Invisibility once per day for free and a first level from Illusion or Necromancy, which is amazing, for free. So that's 2 free spells per day. And then with Fey Touched, I believe you get Misty Step. Yeah, Misty Step once per day. And you get a Divination or Enchantment School once per day. I would pick up Gift of Alacrity, the bonus 1d8 on initiative checks. That would be the other pickup that I would make with Fey Touched. So if you could hold off on the 20 intelligence until 12th level, I'd pick up these 2 feats, increasing intelligence once on both of them, because it's giving you 4 more spells per day, which is better than 1 more prep per day, in my opinion. Because these also allow you to, you can also cast these spells using spell slots of the appropriate level. Now you no longer need to prepare Misty Step. You no longer need to prepare, I believe it was, Invisibility. You no longer need to prepare whatever first level spell that you picked with Shadow Touch. I believe it's Necromancy. That would be False Life. False Life is a Necromancy spell. False Life. Necromancy. Yes, it is. So Shadow Touch, you get Invisibility and False Life once per day, and then you can spend spell slots. And Fey Touch, you get Misty Step and Gift of Alacrity or Identify or Detect Magic once per day without spending spell slots. You never have to prepare them, but you can burn spell slots on them. So worth those pickups. I strike that. It's Resilient Con, and then Shadow Touch for the False Life. Misty Step you can deal with for now, but you want the False Life sooner. Then Fey Touch at 12. And then Tough at 16. Your intelligence at this point has been 20 since 12th level. You have 4 free spells per day between your 2 feats. You have proficiency in Constitution saving throws. You have at 16th level, you're increasing your hit point total by 32. And then 19th level, last feat of the game, maybe Observant, maybe Mobile, dash action. I'd pick up Lucky. I would just cap it off on Lucky to be able to make sure that you have that luck point in the final fights of the game, just in case you need it. And picking up those half feats is because really you're increasing the intelligence to 20 to increase your save DC and your to hit bonus for your spells, but it's also to get an extra spell prepared per day. And that's actually, honestly, I think the better reason to increase your intelligence. But both of these feats are giving you 2 free spells per day at the cost of not increasing your to hit and your save bonus immediately. You're just putting it off for 4 levels until you pick up the other half of these feats. That's going to be the better pickup. So I hope this is an awesome Order of Scribes Wizard. If you have any comments or criticisms, if you are ShiftnClick or you are someone else who's just enjoyed this nice long video, I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my content to anyone you think might enjoy it. I really do enjoy making this. Truthfully, I loved making and going through this character, spending this time going through about this build theory and what things would be better. One of my favorite parts of any day that I get to do this type of thing. I will see you all in the next one. I really do appreciate any type of engagement. I really do read all the comments. I look forward to seeing you again in the tavern.